first order of business is to approve the minutes of last August meeting. And since we do have a quorum, we have, well, I lost them. Oh, there they are. We have Miranda and Joe and myself here. Do you folks have any comments on the minutes of the August 4th meeting? August 2nd.
Nope.
Joe, any comments? Oh, there's Angie. Hi, Angie. Okay, if there are no comments, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 2nd.
I'd make a motion to approve. This is Andy.
Hi, Andy. Andy made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Was that Miranda or Angie? Thank you, Miranda. Me? Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry. Okay, folks, then I'll entertain a vote to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Same sign for no? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. And I'm going to do one more thing, and then, Bill, I'm going to rearrange the agenda for you. And we lost, there he is. So are there any public appearances for non-agenda items? There is nobody in the room, and I do not see anybody else on the screen over there except for Bill, who's going to give our Bike Fitchburg update. So we'll keep moving ahead. Okay, now I'm going to take the chairman's prerogative, what little prerogative I have as chair here. We're going to rearrange the agenda, and we've got Bill Kestel from the Bike Fitchburg. We're going to do 5D next, and he's going to give us an update on Bike Fitchburg. So, Bill, you have the floor.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I think I recognize everybody's names. I don't know that I've ever met Bill Balke or Miranda Beyer in person, but Bill Jetzer, been in Fitchburg since the late 90s, just started showing up and bothering the Bike Fitchburg guys a little over a year ago, and now I'm sitting on the board in an interim spot here, and Steve is busy with, I presume, a Kyle Stiegert event on the Cap City Trail, so he asked me to fill in with a little update from Bike Fitchburg. So, since last time you guys met, we've had several events. So August 9th in McKee Farms Park, there was the National Night Out. Mike Grady with Bike Fitchburg has been spearheading most of our bike rodeos and various community outreach events. So he set up a course and he had 15 kids who rode the course. Various sponsors there who have connections to the bike world, UW Health, Wheels for Winners, Bike Fed, Fitchburg PD was there. I forget, I didn't write down which one of these corporate sponsors brought the portable mountain bike pump track, but that was a hit as well. And at that event, Bike Fitchburg distributed some bike literature, safety-wise, and maps, reflective materials, bike lights. August 25th was the Welcome to Fitchburg party at Southdale for the town of Madison annexation, where again, Mike Grady set up a course. He co-opted the basketball court and gave the kids a course to ride. We were lucky enough that Bike Fitchburg has accumulated a small set of bicycles that we can bring to these events. And that was apparently key for this particular event because a lot of the kids didn't have bikes, but they were able to ride them, the ones that we brought along. So that was pretty cool. And at that event, GHC donated 32 helmets with lights. So that was pretty nice as well. We were supposed to have had a smart cycling class at the senior center on September 9th. That one was canceled, I presume due to low interest. There were unfortunately only 3 people signed up for that. And of course, our big fundraiser event for the year, that September 23rd, was the Pick Me Up at the Border ride. We had 39 riders, which is fairly typical for the event. And I thought it was pretty impressive that even though it's only a $15 entrance fee, we were so that should have worked out to just under $600. We collected almost $1,200 in registration fees. So people registered and donated additional money. We also had an additional $640 that in donations that came through other channels. And we wound up netting $1,600 profit after expenses. So that is a big boost for Bike Fitchburg. In other financial news, we do have still $1,500 or so allocated for Just Bikes small grants. So if you know anybody who's interested in that, send them our way. They can apply for some of those dollars. I mentioned Kyle Stiegert before. We've got just shy of $14,500 earmarked for that. And I think I saw on your agenda, Steve Arnold was able to procure a $1,000 AARP small dollar big impact grant. And he's, I think we're going to be using that for a Greenway pilot intersection. All right. Various outreach activities here. Bike Fitchburg is assisting race day events. They currently don't have bike racks at their facility, so we're going to help them put bike racks up. Mike Grady is planning further community events for the spring. We will potentially sponsor a presentation on sharing the road with bikers and pedestrians. So how to drive safely when there's people around you who are not in cars. And the idea was floated that maybe we can encourage businesses to enroll their employees in that. There will be a financial incentive from their insurance companies. So should be a win-win. And then I guess maybe a little wider net for our outreach. Steve Arnold is actually a part-time employee now for People for Bikes. I believe those guys are out of Denver. So he's been using those hours, surfing Google Street View and updating the open street maps in various cities to try and get a better handle on bike facilities, bike parking, and that sort of thing. From our most recent meeting, one of the fallouts, the takeaways was that Tony Hartman and I will be looking at the mayor's budget, trying to review that and find potential bike-related amendments that we might want our alders to add to that budget. So if you guys have any ideas, float them our way. The other big thing was we are looking for what priorities Bike Fitchburg should have for the coming year. So for 2023, what are our biggest goals? And mainly what we decided was things that are largely to assist in our pursuit of League of American Bicyclists Gold status. So just a handful of things here. We want to encourage the city to update and or re-ratify the 2017 bike pedestrian plan. We want to get that Greenway system actually implemented. That's going to take some effort. Working on the B-cycle expansion. Mackenzie, our Trek contact, has said that supply chain issues are delaying the delivery of the racks, the docks. So that'll be deployed next spring, and I think mid-March. We want to pursue more bike-friendly businesses. Interestingly enough, we had 9 bike-friendly businesses recognized recently, and that was more than any other state in the union. We still would like our bike trail system to have more and better connections, continue community outreach with more bike rodeos, classes for seniors, etc. And doing that, we're obviously going to need some help. So volunteer recruitment will be another item that we concentrate on. We'd like to bring back and help out the police with the bike patrol. Maybe branch out into some of the mountain biking that's going on in Fitchburg, and probably expand our pick-me-up ride, better advertising, better organization. You know, it's nice that it's a small event, but it would be nice that if it wasn't so small as well. And that is pretty much everything that we've been talking about the last couple months. Questions?
Bill, I've got a question. Are you going to circle back with the senior center to reschedule some type of class, whether it's virtual or in person? Because I think part of the goals and for things we're working on infrastructure is how you work with the seniors in your city. And I understand it was indeed canceled because of, I think there was only 2 or 3 people signed up, and it may have been less than that. So is anybody going to circle back?
Yeah, so we talked about that briefly, but not in depth. And I agree with you that we should do something, and maybe it just takes a little bit more effort on our part to actually go in and in person advertise this or something. I'm not sure. I don't have any insight as to why the interest was so, or the perceived interest was so low. But maybe we just need to get some bikes out there and some seniors on them to show the other seniors how awesome it is.
Well, would you please ask someone to follow up with Dave Hill or Joe McCone? Because I think, again, as we apply, we have to show that we've done something, not that we've applied for something or it's in the works. When you apply to the Bike League of America, you have to show them that you've got something that is indeed been done or you can stand from it. So I guess I would ask, would somebody, and if I need to help with this, I will. I know both Jill and Dave. But somebody needs to circle back to the senior center because we've been talking about it as a group for a while. And we need something in the ground before we apply in the 1st of February.
So you said Dave Hill and Jill McCohen. Can you spell the last name for Jill?
Is it, Jerry? I'll look at Jeremy or Phil. Is it M-C-H-O-N-E? M-C-H-O-N-E. M-C-H-O-N-E. She's the director, but Dave Hill is the assistant director. He also bikes to work 365. So he's an avid biker.
Okay.
And I would go to both of them, but just go back and see what we can do. Even if they have luncheons or somebody can go talk about cycling at luncheons and how things can be done. Joe's shaking his head, yes. He might be able to give us a hand on this as well. But I think we need to get something going a little bit stronger than what we tried to do with the senior center. And I think they'll appreciate it in the long run.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will communicate that with the board.
Okay, does any of the other committee members have any questions or comments for Bill? Okay, well, Bill, you did a great job. It was very comprehensive. There's a lot of overlap we'll talk further about during this committee meeting, but thank you for your work and thank you for getting engaged with Bike Fitchburg.
All right, I'm going to drop off, leaving you with just one bill on the meeting.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next item, and we're on to item 4A. Phil, you are up with bicycle events in and around Fitchburg.
All right, so 1 or 2 of these things were already covered by Bill. Event recaps, we had Pick Me Up at the Border this last month, the annual Bike Fitchburg ride. I don't know if anybody was here wants to provide an update on that, but we did get the community night out update from Bill already. Anyone here join the Pick Me Up at the Border? No.
No.
Great.
I have
Bill,
enough trouble riding during the day.
Fair enough. So we've got, I believe everyone on the committee was included in this email, but Joe Maldonado emailed us out about Dr. Sean Robinson from Oshkosh, who is going to be doing a dyslexia awareness ride this Friday on October 7, riding from Oshkosh to Wheel and Sprocket in Fitchburg. He's expected to arrive there around 4 to 5 p.m. So if folks are free and want to meet him at the end there for an event, certainly encouraged to do so. Noticed on the Madison Bikes page, they've got a couple events coming up. I think this is just new this summer, either August or September. This started up a Madison Queer Bike Ride. So that's happening the second Wednesday of every month, meeting at Law Park. And then also a couple of Saturdays, end of October, early November, the Bike Fed is providing some bike corrals over on the Southwest Commuter Path near Camp Randall behind the UW Credit Union. If you want to bike to the Badger football game, they're going to offer some places for you to corral your bike. So be on the lookout for that if you're heading to the game and feel like going 2 wheels. Any other events in or around Fitchburg that I'm missing with this list?
Oh, this is Andy.
Go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
Sorry, my camera's not working for some reason. I wanted to mention that Free Bikes for Kids has their big donation drive this coming Saturday. And there's one location that's, town of Madison, but will become part of Fitchburg at Delta Beer Lab. So for anyone who has old bikes that they would like to donate to Free Bikes for Kids, they collect them, refurbish them, and then get them passed out in the community. I believe the other location that's nearby is the Salem United Church in Verona. That's from 10 to 2 on Saturday.
Awesome, thanks, Andy. I'll send an email out with that link. I totally forgot to check out on that for the fall, so good to know about that. Yep, 10 to 2 p.m. Saturday, October 8th. Also, if you live towards the east part of Fitchburg, the Monona Fire Department is collecting as well.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Phil, anything else?
Not from me.
Okay. If I hearing nothing from the other committee members, we will move on to the next item, which is 4B, updates on projects impacting the bike network. And it's Phil and Bill, and I don't see Bill, and I don't know if he's on.
He is calling in.
Okay. So you can go ahead.
So I'll go through this. Chatted with Bill last week. Got him here to correct me if I get anything wrong. But you see a short list here of items impacting the bike network coming up here. First of all, the South Cyan Road rework. So this is continuing apace. We've got work has begun on Cyan. If you've been driving on South Cyan, you've noticed some detours. Whether you're going north or south, they've got different sections of lanes blocked off that you're being rerouted around. There were some emails that I think just a couple people in here, I believe Mark was included, just kind of informing us that compared to the previous plans we had seen for the Cyan and McCoy intersection, gutter pans are being extended from 24 inches to 30 inches, won't impact the width of the bike lanes. This is just going to allow for a little bit greater area for essentially water leaf collection kinds of things without disrupting cyclists. So that should be a nice improvement, getting a little bit wider gutter pan there. Noted at the, what month was it, August meeting, that Fitchburg applied for a couple of road-related grants. One of them was for the Cyan reconstruction and didn't receive that, but will get a grant to help construct some bus shelters along Cyan Road. The rest of this year, the Cyan Road rework is focused on the East Trail intersection. That's where you would have seen construction is at and just around that intersection. That'll continue into 2023. That plus everything essentially from Aurora Avenue up to about, I'm completely blanking on East Clayton Road is going to be, I believe that's phase 1 of the construction that'll be worked on through the end of next year. And then north of East Clayton Road through the Cyan-McCoy intersection will be phase 2. That'll be taking place next year. There's still discussions going on about how exactly to design that intersection. Want to make sure that it's as safe as possible, that it accommodates traffic flow, that it doesn't interfere with the Gervasi property there. So different designs being considered still for Cyan. The McCoy rework also is continuing. Essentially at this point, it sounds like we're just waiting on the traffic signals to arrive and be installed. So that should be done relatively soon. My understanding is this calendar year. Let me know if that's not correct, Bill.
It should be this year. They're looking at November, hopefully, but it keeps getting pushed back with supply chain issues.
Bill, just a quick question. Are you hearing any complaints about cyclists going through that intersection?
Yeah, we had some, and we could look at putting some stop signs up there at the intersection for the trail. I don't know how well that's going to be received, but we could possibly do that.
I don't know. I rode it yesterday, and I noticed people going through, and there was a near miss there that the cyclist didn't stop. It was the cyclist's fault. But anyway, you might want to think about that as you guys finish it.
All right.
And just your regular reminder that if you're biking across a road with cars on it, please be aware of vehicle traffic.
Thank you.
Boy, that is really important. We talked about in August the possibility, we weren't sure what was going to happen with this, but it looks like we are going to get bike lanes and a 10-foot off-street path south of this intersection, continuing down towards Terra Vesa. It's not going to link up with Terra Vesa yet, as far as I know, but that is a future plan that we're hoping to make happen. There have been some emails sent around about this Madison Metro Sewer District force main rework that's going into Verona, really. The reason that there's interest with Fitchburg, other than if you bike through Verona, is that this will very likely impact the Military Ridge State Trail. So there have been some different maps sent around, but this is essentially the current force main that they're needing to reconstruct. So there's some impact on areas around Goose Lake and some of the Military Ridge State Trail there. I've not been able to attend any of the meetings myself, but they did have a public survey. If you go into the agenda packet, click on this link on the left side here. There's a synopsis letter kind of detailing the results of the public survey, what they found public respondents favored among the different options. So that would be worth looking into. We'll hear more from Rachel, the project engineer on this as it continues, and I'll let you know anytime I get an update from her. Purcell Road is undergoing construction soon. There have been some requests to get where the Badger State Trail crosses Purcell here. There isn't currently any kind of an apron to allow for a little bit smoother turns for bikes. It sounds like that's something we should be able to make happen. This is, I think there was uncertainty because this is technically either state or county right of way. But it sounds like Mark said he'll be able to pave the apron triangles this fall or next spring. So that should
This is great news. I'm thrilled to hear that. I've had a lot of people complaining about it as I ride that way.
Angie, you're not alone, and so Phil's smiling. I thank Phil and Bill for working on this because it is an issue. Thanks.
Absolutely.
I had nothing to do with it, but I'm happy to take credit. Hopefully we'll have fewer complaints about that. It'll be a little easier for people getting through.
Yeah, it's just a busy intersection, and people are trying to sneak in around other people standing as they get ready to go on their bikes, and then cars are coming. So it'll be really nice.
Awesome. Stuart Tunnel, this has been something we've chatted about a few times. There has been a decision made. They're going to look at, you can see on the right side here, the alternative four of the different options they were considering for kind of rehabbing the Stuart Tunnel. They're going to add a corrugated metal pipe tunnel lining. This seemed to have the best balance of cost and efficacy, and also not unnecessarily impacting the bat population that lives within that tunnel. So this seems like a pretty good option here. As you can see in the letter on the left from the DNR, it looks like they are hoping to fund this through the DNR's budget next year. So that was, I know, a question that we had discussed was how this was going to be funded. And it sounds like they're going to try to make it a state project, so it shouldn't require any other local municipal funding, but we'll await word on how that shakes out with their budget next year. And then just two other items that I know we discussed at the last meeting, or the first one we did. The second one has been a regular discussion item, just that Mark brought to us the topic of putting some trail etiquette signs along Fitchburg's trails. You can see these ones that are in Madison. This is on the Cannonball Trail on the right side here, the bilingual sign, and then on the left, this is over on the isthmus closer to Monona Bay. So Mark is working on getting these trail etiquette signs put together, and we're just checking to see if we can get funding, looking to see if there's anything in the city budget available to purchase these, or if not, where else we might secure that.
Just a FYI for the committee, this would be a couple of $100s, and we've asked Chad and Phil to see if they can find a couple hundred. The city of Madison produces these, and we can buy them from Madison. If you go into the Madison trails, you'll probably see 6 to 8 of them as you enter into the city and also down around the university. But I think again, as we focus on safety as part of our mission, and two, as we talk about what the Bike League wants us to do, this would make people aware if nothing else. So more to come on that one. So thank you for keeping it on the agenda.
Yep, and the other wish list item is just the American Pedestrian Association of Bicycle and Pedestrian Planners, something like that. I
Yes.
always butcher that. But APBP compliant parking is rather than just looking to get bike parking anywhere that cyclists are riding, actually making it a little bit more conducive to safe and secure bike parking like we've got here on the right side at the roundabout, these awesome Fitchburg logo branded bike stalls. We're just looking at always increasing the quantity of APBP compliant parking around the city. I know that there is a hope to get some additional parking at some Fitchburg parks that don't currently have them, and that's, again, another conversation that Mark and Chad and I have had. We'll continue looking at that. Bill, at some point I may want to look just to see what it would take to get a policy in place for the city that anytime we're reconstructing or developing new city sites that we add APBP compliant parking as feasible. But that would be a future wish list item, not something that I'm actively working on at this point.
I would add a couple to that about the parking. One is, with the exception of McKee, and I may have missed something, but we have all these parks in the city and nobody's got parking at all. McKee has a lot of parking.
I'll plead my ignorance here, not even at McGaw?
I have not seen anything at McGaw.
Okay.
So we need to work with the city on that. These spots are about $150 each as you look at them. And we'd like to have a couple put in before we move into our gold application. In addition, Phil mentioned the planning piece with new buildings and things. We've asked Deanna, as they talk to builders and developers, to put in these bike racks as they move forward. So again, it's an active, open issue. But I was kind of shocked as I did my own little tour around the city. We've got 50 parks and open spaces. And I could only find, like I said, McKee has 3 different spots where they're sitting, but nobody else had anything. So we need to work on that in the long run. And I think it's got to be one of our priorities as we move forward next year. So while the city's doing budget, now's the time to ask for some of these things. So questions about that? Okay, keep going, Phil.
I will briefly add that in terms of city planning, we're still talking about whether anything should be done from a kind of a general planning policy standpoint. I did talk to John Crook last year with building inspection. When new buildings are going in, they do provide a whole list of materials to developers, and included in that is information on bike parking. And I made sure that John's got the latest APBP guide on that. So that should be going to developers already. It's kind of a question of whether we want to make this a checkbox for the planning department when they're doing site review. It's not currently a city ordinance or anything like that, but whether we want to make it we'll say a stronger recommendation than we are already doing. But yeah, and that's all we've got for item 4B.
Okay, Phil covered most of item 4C because I have kind of been developing, as we plan for gold and as we look at our bike committee work, a list of things that we'd like to focus on, starting, of course, with safety. The parking, the gold mission, the signs are all covered, and we will be asking the city to see if they can set some money aside for these activities moving into the next year. So I really, Phil, don't have anything else to add on what you call my wish list.
Yep, sorry, I just completely missed that I had that labeled 4C, right. So I stole your thunder there.
That's okay. I'm going to move on then. Are there questions about the things we're asking the city about? Okay, Joe's shaking his head. Angie? Okay. Andy Potts, you still on the line?
Yep, still here.
Okay, I kind of wanted to query you on that question as well. Do you see, are we missing anything?
No, I think this is it. I mean, one discussion when we talk about buildings that I had ages ago when I was still on the council, in part is that we require new buildings to have parking. We have a parking requirement in terms of how many stalls they need in their parking lot. I know one thing that some communities have done is offer up an alternative to say, in lieu of a certain number of spots, you can replace those with bike parking. It ultimately ends up being a cost savings because it's cheaper to put in a bike rack than it is to pave a parking stall. So I think that would be one item just to look at, sort of as an incentive to say, hey, developer, you can actually save some money by providing bike parking because we'll relieve you of some of your motor vehicle parking requirement.
Okay, Phil, can you at least look into that? And
Yep, yeah, I can talk to the other planners. Sorry, I'm
okay,
in the planning department. I'll talk to the planners. I'm not one of them about that.
okay. All right, thank you, Andy. I'm going to keep moving forward then if there's no other items about our committee. And that is, as we were planning the gold application, one of the things that it asked us, in addition to 87 pages of questions, is it asked us about, have we ever done a bike audit of our community? And I don't know, and I talked to Phil, and I also talked to Steve Arnold and Tony Hartman, and nobody was aware of any type of audit being done other than counting bicyclists who rode through. So I did a little researching online, and I found this document that's not a know-all or end-all, but it says, it asks how bikeable is your community. And what I'd like to do is, this is something that is going to just cost some volunteer time. It's not going to cost the city anything in the short run. But I guess I'm asking you folks, what do you folks think about going out before the end of the year and maybe each committee member taking 1 or 2 spots and try and ride a section of the trail or ride fish hatch, whatever, and then complete this document. So I'm going to open it up for discussion to see if there's any groundswell of support or empathy on this project. So go ahead.
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
This is Andy, Sam.
Okay. And I'll volunteer. So I think we've got to start. Anybody else do you folks think this is a good idea? Then we can give this back to people like Phil and Bill Balke and Chad as we look down the road.
Yes, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I will say this looks really similar to the Places for Bikes, People for Bikes survey that goes out every year, and we get that city rating. Definitely don't want to pour cold water on this. I think this is a great idea. So we don't currently get the data, the raw data from those surveys, but this is something that has been done by Places for Bikes, and so we at least have the results from that. So if we do this internally, it might be nice to compare what we get to what they've been finding from, because that is again, it's just a random sampling, but that's more self-selection bias than maybe we'll get if we do it ourselves.
Yeah, and I think the bigger part is it's just not more in our portfolio of information we're collecting about cyclists. For example, the Purcell Road thing, Andy and I and Angie have been talking about it for probably 2 to 3 years. When we first heard it was going to be Purcell was going to be repaved. So that would have been something that would have been identified on this road. I think another one we ought to go take a look at, and I'm going to try and do as part of mine of this, is going over and going through Southdale and seeing what we have over there. I think as we take Southdale on, it will help us to know what's over there and what's not over there. And right now, it's a tough connection to get over there. So.
Mm-hmm. I would think it would be important to, have the stuff that we know is difficult and challenging, but also have the stuff that we know is good and improved in something like this.
Agreed, Angie. Well, I will leave it, since we have 3 volunteers, I will leave it to you guys to decide what parts you want to ride. Again, the thing I found online said you can go ride 2 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, but just track it, and then we can pull it back in. I think those of you that ride around the city know the areas that are a challenge, but I like your comment, Angie. We got to show good things and improvements, and I think that's a nice thing as well. I mean, we all know that the Cap City Trail has been refurbished for the most part from Cyan Road, or not Cyan, Cyan all the way over to the Seminole. So anyway, those are all good things that are going on. So the bridge is over the roads, et cetera. So, okay. So if you folks could just try and do it before our December meeting, we can at least tell the bike league that we're doing bike audits. We've also got places people can give comments about, like, for example, back to Purcell Road. So, okay, I will keep us moving and see if I can get you out of here early today. The next thing in is B-Cycle. Phil, it's all yours, 4E.
All right, so we've continued having discussions with B-Cycle and the city and Angela with the chamber. Still working out the details for the implementation of phase one. Got a little bit of a preview of this from Bill with his Bike Fitchburg update. Actually, I don't need to share this right now. What he mentioned is what we've been hearing in our conversations with B-Cycle the last couple of weeks. They had some supply chain issues. They've had some kind of across the supply chain, and I think with B-Cycle as well, some staffing shortages. And the upshot of that is that we do have docks in as we hoped this fall. We were hoping that for phase one, we'd be able to use some reserve bikes from the Madison system to start out Fitchburg's phase one program. It sounds like all of their reserve bikes are essentially awaiting repairs right now, so there aren't really any extra bikes for Fitchburg to use at the moment. Because our bikes haven't come in from the supplier, it means at this point we're looking at probably delaying phase one to the middle of March. The soonest we'd probably be able to get anything on the ground in Fitchburg would be November, and we'd have less than a month, and that's assuming the bikes come in by then. We'd have less than a month then before we'd pull everything up, or B-Cycle would pull everything up for the winter. So rather than that sort of a soft launch and kind of the stuttering beginning to this program, I do want to speak with the DOT just because there are grant implications with our implementation of phase two expansion. But assuming that's all fine, we're looking at, we'd start phase one in March next year, and then once we've got that rolling, then we'll look at getting phase two going after that. So still working on B-Cycle. We're going to be planning through the winter, and at this point, we anticipate that in the spring we'll kick it off with a big ribbon cutting event, or as I keep saying, a bike chain cutting event. I don't know if we have scissors that strong, but we'll figure it out.
Questions from committee members? Well, Phil, thank you for that update. I think it's a good idea to do it right in the spring versus trying to put something in the ground for a week or two and then take it out the end of the month. So this has had a lot of moving parts and a lot of work by the city, our bike committee, and Trek and B-Cycle, and our businesses in the chamber too. So it's going to be a good thing when it comes. I think the sites, Phil, could you, with the minutes, put the current phase one sites out for us, because I think it's still been kind of fluid.
Yep. And I can show you that right now as well.
Yeah,
So
I think that'd be helpful, so you folks can see this,
here.
and we can explain why certain sites were chosen.
So it's just a document that I'm working through with B-Cycle. Right now I would focus just on the black circles. So we know that the phase one sites will include, so from the CETA funding, kind of CETA and chamber provided fundings, there will be docks at Hatchery Hill, kind of near the hotel there, McKee Farms Park, at the Agora, specifically near the chamber, their offices. We're also going to have the Limerick down, it's a new senior housing that's being constructed at Lacey Road, kind of just south of Uptown and Shine Technologies and all that. And then we're also looking at Terra Vesa neighborhood. We want to get one more site for the CETA sponsorship, and we're sort of trying to figure out where along West McKee we want to make that happen, whether it makes sense to have it sort of closer to the Oak Bank complex, closer to the Badger State Trail. We had discussed kind of the hotels across Verona Road, and we're just not sure that makes sense in terms of the existing bike linkages. That would be pretty distant from the rest of the phase one sites. So kind of still deliberating where that last site will be, but I'll talk with Mike Zimmerman this week or next and figure out if we have a final decision on that. But that's what we're looking at for phase one. all of the maroon green circles here, they're things that we have discussed for phase 2. We don't have anything finalized yet, so just not committing any particular site or especially any particular business that hasn't agreed to sponsor anything. But certainly we're looking at the North Fish Hatchery Hub. We'd love to get something in Southdale. We're going to try to have the Civic Campus. Dolly Bike Hub would be fantastic. And then, if we can get stuff into like the Allied community across Verona Road and really expand the access to this program as well, that would be the goal.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Questions from the group about any sites we're potentially missing?
Mark, I don't have any questions. I do just want to say thanks to both you and Phil for all your work on this. I know it's been frustrating through the process and supply chain issues, but I really do appreciate all the work you two have done on this.
Well, I'll say thank you for both of us. Again, again, I think the key is you're trying to deal with a business and get sponsorship, because as everybody knows, B-cycles are paid and supported by sponsorships, but the infrastructure has to be taken care of first. So we'll get it done, we'll get it out, and we will ensure that there's a good plan coming forward to welcome this to the city. So thanks. Anything else, Phil?
Oh, that's it.
Okay. I'm going to take an interjection. I want to back up to while Bill Balke's still on the call, about bike infrastructure. As I've been moving around the city on my two wheels, one of the things the Bike League wants us to talk about is, have we increased our bicycle network over a given period of time? And there are some great trails that are already the right width out in uptown Fitchburg, and I don't know if any of you have been over there to ride. I was going to ask Andrew McFadden before he left if we could look at expanding the bike network for the city over there. Again, putting a couple signs up and putting it on a map is all it should cost, I think. But I don't know what's involved in that. So I don't know, Bill, if you're on the phone still, if you could advise who I should talk about somebody going over there and looking at it, or even looking at it on a Google map. But we've got an area of our city that ultimately we want to connect to Southdale that would work over there. And ultimately, I think in the long run, the mayor has a desire to somehow connect to Oregon. And as it comes, that connection is going to come through there. So I don't know, Bill, are you still on the phone?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be me for the interim,
Okay.
to try to look at that. I'll meet you offline on that, and we can go over it in more detail.
Sure, let me know. And again, this is just a brainstorm I had when I was riding over there. And of course, right now you can't get to it because of the construction on Cyan, or on Lacey, or Sherrill Parkway and Lacey, but you can get to it once you get over there. So there's a lot of bike trail and asphalt over there that I think we can take advantage of. So yeah, Bill, if you get to me offline, I'll give you my ideas.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Phil.
That perfectly phases into 4F.
Yes, so 4F was one that, you want to go ahead, Phil?
Sure, I can kick it off. I think you might want to add more than I've got here. But yeah, we've been talking about, as the town of Madison is incorporated, sections are incorporated into Fitchburg towards the end of this year. One thing that we haven't really done yet as a bike committee is to examine the current bike infrastructure and needs in Southdale, and connecting, as Mark mentioned, Southdale to the rest of Fitchburg. So I can do a quick screen share here. If you're not familiar with biking around that part of town, maybe you take the Capital City Trail across Rimrock and keep going east towards Lake Farm Park. But if you just head up up Rimrock here a short ways, you get into Southdale. A lot of the residential roads here are, I would say, they have low enough traffic that they're pretty. And I don't know how easy this is to view. I've got the bike layer up here on the Google Maps, but that green might blend into all the grassy and tree spaces as well. A lot of the roads have low enough vehicle traffic that they're pretty bikeable. There are definitely some roads that have bike lanes on them, either wider shoulders or dedicated bike lanes. But I think the big question is, how easy is it to get from kind of this intersection of Rimrock and Oregon Road down to McCoy, the Capital City Trail, and getting west into Fitchburg? I've tried to pay attention to it the last few times I've been over there. I haven't biked it in a couple months. Certainly there are shoulders that are wide enough for biking on on Rimrock at that point. I think it might be something that we want to keep an eye on and keep thinking about. I know that there are wetland considerations to the side of so it wouldn't be as simple as just expanding the road. But this is certainly something to look at, whether there are ways that we can make it even more accessible. I'd say I feel comfortable right now most of the time biking it, but certainly it's a 35 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour speed limit. Some cars will go 45 sometimes, and that makes it feel a little bit more precarious. But if they're going the posted speed limit, I feel fine biking it. That doesn't necessarily translate to everyone else feeling comfortable with that. So something we want to look at is that connection particularly, but then within Southdale, are there any other infrastructure improvement needs?
No, Phil, I think you've hit it on the head. I don't have anything else to add other than I'd like to see us put it on our agenda for 2023 to begin to figure out what can be done, because I have talked to Delta over there, and I've heard that comment, there's no way to connect easily via bicycles, and I personally don't like riding on Rimrock. There's a way, I was talking to Jeremy here earlier about you go over there by the park, and that may be one way to get there, but again, then what does it connect to? So that's when we need to look at connectivity with the city of Fitchburg as well as connectivity into Madison. So it's a longer term solution, but I think it's one as a proactive bicycle committee that we need to take a look at. So I think more to come here. Would any of you committee members have anything to add on this? Is it something we ought to put on our agenda for next year?
Yeah, I'd agree. Put it on the agenda.
Okay.
I agree also.
Okay, so more to come. And if anybody has any ideas, let us know. I thought I'd go over there as far as the bike audit and ride over there and see what's there, so, okay. Anyway, all right then, we're gonna move on to the bike-friendly business, which I'm sorry I'm doing so much talking today, but Bill already gave an update that there were, we put together a plan for 10 Fitchburg businesses last fall. Steve Arnold and I did. And I think Andy Potts helped on this as well. We got 9 businesses to apply, and all of them received an award, whether it's bronze or silver. And there's going to be a recognition ceremony, I think, on October 11th at the city council meeting. But you've all seen Phil's got it up. You've all seen the press release on this. So this is a good thing. I think the interesting thing is helping some of these things out. They didn't realize what they had and didn't have, but that we've got these folks to fill this out. I've got a couple more we're going to try and talk to, because there's another application deadline the middle of November. So if any committee members have somebody we should approach, please let us know. Steve and I have been coordinating this. It takes about 2 hours to fill one of these out with the business, if they have all their data around them, like their number of employees, their websites, etc. So I have on the record asked the city to apply, and I think that request is going through Chad and Phil, because the city we're going for gold. Our city City Hall ought to be a bike-friendly business, and we would go with City Hall, just like the Boys and Girls Club went with it somehow got mistakenly given as the Madison address, which is their administration building, but Connor applied from the Boys and Girls Club, applied for Allied Drive, the Allied Drive site. And anyway, so there's not any more to come on this other than I think it's unique we've done this. I think it shows a push, and I think all those places are into biking for their employees. So if you've got any ideas before the middle of November, let me know, or let Steve know, and we'll get to them and try and get it out. But this is a good start, considering we only had 2 a year ago.
I think 3.
Oh, 3? Okay, sorry.
We had, I'm trying to remember, we had Griesmeyer Law.
Right. Race day?
Oh gosh,
Yeah, we did have 3. I didn't bring that file. I'm sorry.
I've got it right here. We had,
I think we only had 2.
Yeah.
I think Thad just got his this year.
we had,
Yes.
we had
Yeah.
Fitchburg Family Pharmacy, Griesemeyer. Race Day didn't have theirs yet?
Correct.
Okay, so we had 2.
Yeah, Thad is one of the ones. Go ahead, Angie.
I thought Thad just got his this summer.
He did.
So at least prior to this cycle,
Yes.
so yeah, prior to this year, we only had 1 or 2, but before these 9 joined in, we had 3 in Fitchburg, and now we're up to 12.
So this is great. I mean, it shows that our community is getting into, and the interesting thing is, also along with that, we tried to talk to these businesses about APV parking, and we tried to talk to them about bike benefits. And now, unless you're a retail business, bike benefits doesn't make any sense for you unless you're going to give the stickers to your employees. But Madison has over 250 bike benefit businesses that you go there and if you have your bike helmet with your sticker on it, you can get a discount on something. For example, at Delta in Madison, or now in Fitchburg, they'll give you $2 off on a beer. Now you can only buy one, but it's still $2 off on a beverage or a cup of coffee, whatever you want. So anyway, more to come on that. This is a good thing. It's all about making our city more bike friendly and building our infrastructure. So I'll move on, and we're going to move on to the committee. God, I'm the next one on the agenda. Sorry, guys. Gold. I don't think we need to give you any more gold update other than the city and Bike Fitchburg and myself are working to fill out the application. And we're going to be reaching out to a number of you to get us info by the end of the year. This document I shared with the group before. It's 87 pages. It's kind of daunting. We need to get into a lot of detailed data that are going to check up on us. A lot of stuff's on census. A lot of stuff we had to look at what we've done. But we're confident we can get this done by the end of the year is our goal, to have a draft application. And I'll ensure that this whole committee gets a chance to kick the can when we have something ready for you to look at. But there's 6 parts, and we're only through 4 parts right now. So more to come. I know, Angie, you're on here, and we're looking at, I need school information, and I'm getting things from Leopold and the Madison schools. I need to get it from Oregon and Verona, and it may just take some phone calls. They've got 10 or 12 questions by school. Go ahead, Angie.
The FIAD teachers who run that program are very difficult to reach by phone.
Okay.
They're never in their offices answering the phone. And so the best way to reach them is by email. But I'll send another email out to Jake and Bill also.
Yeah, thank you. I reached out to Angie to help me with Verona, just to get the information. I mean, it can be done in a 10-minute call. And then we've done the same with Oregon. I haven't heard back. I've got the Leopold info. But what they want is they want you to go all the way through up high school. And what we need to determine as a city here, which is our unique problem, is what percent of our Fitchburg kids, for example, go to Oregon. Whether if Oregon schools have 100 people and 10 of them are Fitchburg, then we say 10%. But I've got to somehow get these numbers to put a conglomerate together on our schools. I stopped by Eagle yesterday on my bicycle. They don't do anything with cycling. They said we've got a PE department and we do things, but nothing with cycling. So I just left the open invitation. If they'd like to do something, let us know. So
The smallest percentage would be for Oregon. Madison and Verona comprise of most of the rest of Fitchburg, the districts.
You're right. Yeah.
I know Verona only does elementary school. They might, the high school has a lifetime fitness or lifetime sports class now, so they might be doing something at the high school now. But part of my problem is that when I retired in December, I was the second most long-term employee in the district, still there. And so many people have changed.
Right, and again, COVID, I think, has impacted all this as well. This is why I'm not trying to meet with anybody, just trying to get some contact. So I will keep bird dogging this. Angie, if you can help me with Verona, just tell me who to get a hold of. I'd greatly appreciate it. So,
Sounds good.
The bike, we'll get this bike thing done, and I'm confident that we're doing what we need to be doing to move to gold, because we've been in contact with the Bike League, a small subgroup of us, with Phil and Andy and Steve Arnold and Tony and some others. We've been in constant contact with them since 19, so I think we're getting there. And that's all I have on bike friendly. Next is the council update. Joe, are you on the line?
I believe Joe said he was on. I'm not sure if he has audio availability. Hey,
Joe.
Hi.
We're down to your update, and Bill already somebody gave the update about the event at Wheel and Sprocket next week, or this Friday. So, anything else you have to add to us?
No, I've been listening to the conversation. If there are some budget amendments that folks would like me to make, do that ASAP so that I can include an amendment. I can either co-write one or we can have staff write one, but just let's work on that as soon as possible. There's also an event coming up. It'll be a bike repair event. It'll be in Allied Park on October 13th, and it'll be from 3 to 7 p.m. And it'll also coincide with a voter registration push with the League of Women Voters. We had somebody out last Friday from 2 to 6 from Dream Bikes, and he ended up probably fixing like 8 bikes. So feel free to come out and join.
Thank you, Joe. And Joe, I will get you a note on the bike things as far as money we talked about today. I think if you recall, under the ARPA grant, we'd asked for some bike parking and the parks, and if we could redo some of that, as well as these safety signs I talked about. So I'll get that note to you today. Again, Chad already knows about it too, but I have not painstakingly looked through the mayor's 400-page budget yet. So I don't know if we're even in there. Anything else, Joe? I think he's frozen.
Oh, yeah, looks like it.
There you go, Joe. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you very much for your support, and we'll get you that info. We are to you, Phil. No.
I don't remember if I was catching up on some notes.
No.
If you didn't catch this, I know that Joe has sent a couple emails to staff, and we're working on, and I believe the police department's also, Ned Hartwick is aware of this and looking into it. There have been some concerns about walking and biking to, I think specifically Forest Edge Elementary for Terra Vesa residents right now, just because there's ongoing construction in that neighborhood, and so that can impact the existing sidewalks, bike lanes, things like that. So we're trying to make sure that through construction we still have a safe situation for especially students to get out on their either as pedestrians or cyclists and get to school safely. A couple other updates. Mark and I have discussed one outstanding item from the 2019 bike-friendly community scorecard that we got. Was they encouraged us to pursue a Vision Zero program to eliminate traffic fatalities for bikes and pedestrians. I'm looking at something like either Vision Zero or National League of Cities has a Safety First challenge for safer streets. Certainly that it didn't sound like not having a Vision Zero program in place was going to be an obstacle to us getting gold. But I don't want that to be the reason that we don't pursue something like that. I think that I would say that I've seen Public Works, the transportation, the streets team, and our transportation engineer do a really good job at prioritizing bike safety. Certainly, there's always room to improve, and we should look to see if there's anything else that we can do, whether it's one of those specific programs or something else. But that'll be an ongoing discussion as well. What we want to do about just making sure that we're really prioritizing safety for cyclists and pedestrians in Fitchburg. We are, as I mentioned, a transportation projects engineer. We're looking for a new one. So we're currently between transit engineers. I think that's already been mentioned as well. Fortunately, Bill has a strong background as our transportation engineer, so unfortunately it means Bill's wearing about 6 different hats right now, but he's certainly capable. He's got a transportation engineer hat that fits well, but it will mean that things are maybe a little bit slowed down in terms of communication on those right now while we're waiting to get a full-time transportation engineer back on staff. The last thing of interest is I went back out a couple weeks ago and collected some more data from our TrafX bike counters, so I'll share a little bit of this here. I'm starting to play around with some of this data. I know that Steve, Mark have been working with EcoCounter. We're trying to share some of our data with them, and they're doing some data analysis to look at traffic patterns and volumes around Fitchburg. Certainly, I would imagine, Mark, you're more familiar with that than I am and could better speak to it after this if that's important. But I'm at least looking at a little bit from my end as well with the data that we do have. It basically goes back from late December last year through late September this year. So we're getting close to a year's worth of data. I'm starting to try to play around with that, look at kind of weekday versus weekend traffic, rather than just comparing month to month and site to site. How do these compare at different days of the week? Kind of interesting, not surprising that the weekends, average hourly traffic, weekends really dominate in the warmer months when a lot more people are out recreating. You get into the shoulder season in winter, especially, and weekdays kind of catch up or pass it because you get more of the dedicated commuting cyclists, I think, and fewer people that are out recreating. So you kind of see that balance shift a little bit as we're getting into the fall. Can play around a little bit as well because we have hour by hour data. We can look at the weekday commutes. So kind of, I think I had this at 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m., something like that, maybe 7 to 10 and 4 to 6, versus the rest of the weekday and then weekend traffic. So just another way of breaking down the data. I don't have any in-depth completed analysis on this yet, but I'm at least starting to look at it. Wanted to share that. I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts on how else you might other things you might be looking for in the data in here, things that you'd like me to dig into that might inform our assessment of trail usage in Fitchburg.
Phil, I'd offer 2 comments. One is
Sure.
there with EcoCounter, this project, there is a conference call that Steve and I are participating in, I think in 10 days or so, 2 weeks. It hasn't happened yet. So
Okay.
other than you getting in the data, that's all we've done. Secondly, I think as we move into 2023, it'd be nice to give our council an update on what the bike committee's doing. More importantly, how many people are moving through Fitchburg? And I think letting the chamber know that as well, because as you look at those numbers, we know they're high in the summer, and I like the way you're differentiating it between weekday and weekend type of thing as well. So it's good to know what's going on, and it's good to help us plan. So I just think you're starting on this journey. It's a good journey. The committee members have any feedback on for Phil about the TrafX info?
Phil, this is Andy. Would it be possible to just get this spreadsheet?
Yeah, I think I could share this around.
Yes, I'd like to have it for that conference call.
Oh, yeah, yep.
I like playing with pivot tables and graphs, so I'd be interested.
It's fun, isn't it?
Data. Yeah.
Yeah, I can share that around. Another thing I should have called out that I want to look at is 3 of these sites right now are really close to essentially on the bike roundabout. Still have not gotten any more data from the county on their Cap City Trail counter that's near the roundabout. So they put that in a couple years ago. I think 2019. But since the pandemic, I have not gotten any data updates from them. I'm not sure if they're still going out collecting.
It's still there.
It's still
box is
there,
still there.
but they have to go out and manually collect it. You've got to connect a little dock to the counter, so I'm not sure if they have any new data. But at least these 3 are right by the bike roundabout, the Cannonball, Military Ridge, and Badger. So we do want to kind of tweak that a little bit to figure some of that is going to be, people are crossing the Cannonball and then they go down the Military Ridge, so you've got a double count there, and we want to be careful about that, not overestimate. But with the raw data right here, we're getting average daily traffic, a low of 30 at the South Fish Hatchery site, a high of well over 300 on the Badger State Trail counter. So that right there, just at the Badger State Trail, if that 328 were all unique bicyclists, and of course you've got some pedestrians, you've got some cyclists, and some double counts. But let's say that's all unique, just at the Badger site, that would be 1% of Fitchburg's population.
Yeah.
So what we had from our scorecard, our bike-friendly community renewal application 2019, they said 0.75% of Fitchburg's residents reported bike commuting on a regular basis. So that definitely docked us a bit. They said we don't have enough cyclists around Fitchburg to be gold because you're under 1%. I would say, looking at the data here, I'm pretty confident that more than 1% of Fitchburg cyclists or more than 1% of Fitchburg's population are regular cyclists, and I think we can make a strong case for that. We want to look at kind of an educated guess at how much of this is double counted. And of course, these are only 7 spots around Fitchburg. We're not getting neighborhood traffic. We're not getting people right now biking along the multi-use trails along the south side of McKee Road or the west side of Fish Hatcheries. There's a lot of missing data as well. But this is also something that we want to look at, certainly for our bike-friendly community applications, but well beyond that, infrastructure planning. If we're finding that we're spending a lot of time on 1 or 2 sites that maybe aren't getting a lot of traffic, we might want to reallocate resources to places that we are seeing a lot more participation, a lot more trail usage. That's everything I've got for a staff update.
Okay, well, thank you, Phil. And I think as the committee can see, there's a lot going on, and we will continue to stay on this to get to continue to improve biking in our city. If any of you have any, as I get ready to wrap this up, does any of you have any items you want on the agenda, please let myself or Phil know. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, December 5th. December 6th. Sorry, December 6th, same time. If you're going to do a bike audit, if you get out and do it, I guess before that next meeting and give me your feedback, I'd appreciate it. If you've got any budget amendment items other than we're going to get to Joe and Phil about some parking money that we'd asked for with ARPA, some signs, and then the Greenway pilot. I think that would be good. We'll get that to our city colleagues since they're doing budget. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn unless there's something else to talk about.
I just wanted to mention that bike survey is kind of in the mix of all of these pages. I was trying to figure out to see if I could actually print it. Yeah, it looks like it'll show up. I'll be able to print it. I was just double checking before I.
Yeah, if not, send me an email. We're having some work done on our kitchen floor, so I may not be able to get to the base of where my computer is today, but Phil or I can send it to you if you can't get it, so.
It looks like I can get it.
Okay.
So we're all set. Okay.
Great, okay. All right. Anything else from anybody? We will entertain a motion to adjourn 20 minutes early.
I'll
Second.
make a motion. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Andy made the motion, second by Angie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. All right, folks, have a good one. Thank you.